Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica and our continuing series, the Unported playlist, where we take a look at now 21 of my favorite arcade games that never had home ports. And today we're taking a look at Daytona USA 3, released in 2017 by Sega. I think you can see a theme now because we've already talked about Daytona USA 2. I absolutely love this series, and I do wish more of the games came home outside of the original one. What's interesting about this is that it was released in 2017 for arcades, but now all arcade games are based on PC hardware, and Sega regularly sends out updates, bug fixes, and additions to their games on a special server that they maintain. But Sega released the update files to Daytona USA Racing 3 as a brand new, fully working executable with no password, and the internet found out about this, and Daytona USA 3 is now playable at home. And as far as the gameplay is concerned, I love it. It wasn't reviewed as well as some of the other entries in the Daytona series, but I still think it has that same Daytona feel, and I definitely love playing it. So as far as I'm concerned, maybe it's not one of the best unported arcade games, as far as reviewers would say, but I absolutely love the Daytona series, so for me, maybe it's just a personal pick. But why wasn't this ported? And this is where arcades get interesting as we go further on down the line. It used to be, back in the day, that arcade hardware was dedicated, meaning that Sega, Capcom, Namco would all have special boards made for their arcade games. They weren't console hardware, they weren't PC hardware, they were special one-off boards that really were dedicated for the arcades. But as time moves on, pretty much every arcade hardware release that you see today is in some way, shape, or form just a PC in a custom box. The Taito Type X, the Sega games, they're all just graphics cards, CPUs, RAM, basically the same thing that you'd have on your desk or in your lap at home. So why doesn't Sega as an operator just release these games to something like Steam? The executable is there. It works for pretty much every graphics card as far as I can tell. It's really easy to play. Control-wise, it does need some adjustment. I did my best to dial in the analog stick on my Xbox One controller, but the car can still be a little twitchy, but it's 100% playable, and I do win some races, proving that you can still play it at home. But this is why I really wonder why these don't get ported. I understand arcade operators pay a lot of money to have the hardware in arcades, and they don't want to be competing with a $20 Steam release. But it's been 3 years since this game came out. Maybe even if you had to wait till 2022, it seems really easy to be able to bring these all to the home. Even if it is just a PC release, you don't touch any consoles. It's already running on a PC, and it isn't locked to specific hardware, because some arcade PC-based hardware, you have to have the exact graphics card that was installed in it with the exact drivers. On this, it runs on a lot of different PCs, so it's not that locked down, but it wouldn't be hard to adjust the game to work on different drivers or more modern GPUs. So as time moves on, it makes more and more sense for arcade game makers like Sega to actually port these home, because it really is just wrapping up an executable in a Steam release, submitting it to Steam, they review it, and you go from there. But as far as the gameplay is concerned, it's classic Daytona racing. You even get the classic Daytona song. I'm not sure why this didn't review well. I mean, it's not the largest game, but it looks really nice, and it plays exactly like you remember Daytona playing. So if you enjoy Daytona USA, you're definitely going to really like this game. But it seemed to come and go from arcade and like the consciousness very quickly. There's a few articles mentioning that it was on its way. There was a preview. There's a few reviews saying that it was good, not great. And then I never heard anyone else talk about Daytona USA 3 after that, which I think is really disappointing, because even if it's not the best arcade racing game Sega's ever brought out, the Daytona franchise is huge for them. It's one of the things they're known for outside of Sonic the Hedgehog. So for this game not to be playable by too many people is disappointing. And considering the arcade scene in the US, where they're really not that popular anymore, I'm not even sure how many people in the US would have been able to play this versus Japanese arcades, where they are prolific, they're everywhere, and a lot of people could enjoy it, because this cab can be networked up so that you can be racing with your friends and have a really good time. And it has that great bump drive Daytona feel to it. You can, within reason, kind of bump around. I bumped the wall there, was not what I was intending. But you can really move up in the rankings by driving aggressively and kind of bumping your opponents out of the way. And I would say this is a very fair feeling arcade racer. It is at default difficulty, and I'm able to win races and have a really good time. So it's not one of those type of arcade racers where it's set by default. You're never going to compete a race unless you race perfectly. You have to basically win the race with like 1 or 2 seconds left on the clock, or else you're just going to run out of time and have to retire. So as far as the whole package is concerned, I think it looks amazing. I think it plays really well. I think the soundtrack is Daytona USA style perfect. So it's really disappointing that this game just kind of came and went. And I think more PC-based releases for these PC-based arcade hardware platforms would give the games a second life. I don't think you'd get $60 for something like Daytona USA Racing 3, but I think if you did it for $20 or even $30 on Steam, the Sega fans would really enjoy it, and they would pay for it, and they would download it. And considering it already runs on PC as is, the commitment to actually get it up and functioning as a Steam release would be very minimal. And you can see here I am racing in first place, and I'm pretty sure I win this race. I did record the gameplay about a month before I'm doing the audio, but there you go, I made the goal. And that's what I love about this game. The original Daytona could be quite difficult to win a race or to even finish, where Daytona USA Racing 2 was a little bit more forgiving but still difficult. Maybe this game is a little bit easier than it should be, but I actually appreciate being able to finish a race, win a race, and really feel like I'm doing a good job behind the wheel. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to let you watch the next race without my voiceover so you can get a sense of the soundtrack and what's going on, and then after that is over, I will come back and we'll close out Daytona USA Racing 3 and just talk a little bit more about the game. But otherwise, enjoy the next track. It's a good one. And I have another first place finish. And that's what I mean. Maybe this game is too easy. Maybe I should dial up the difficulty. Because for me, winning very often at Daytona USA Racing is not something that I do. I'm usually okay at the game, and it takes me some practice to get better. So maybe the game's a little bit too easy. But hey, I kind of like that. It makes me feel great. But that is Daytona USA Racing 3, another game in Sega's illustrious arcade catalog that just never came home. Maybe it wasn't reviewed as well as the other games, but I definitely enjoy it, as it's got that quasi-remake feel of the first game. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe it was too similar to the original Daytona and reviewers just didn't like that. But I definitely recommend if you want to seek the game out. I can't tell you where to find it, but it's pretty easy, and it's really easy to get up and running and experience. Short of that, we'll be back on Tuesday with another episode in our mainline series, on Friday as well, and then we'll have another Unported arcade game for you guys on Sunday. But we really appreciate you watching these. If you could do us a huge favor, go down below and hit like and subscribe. Each episode takes a lot of time and energy to make, and all your support definitely helps. But like I said, if you like Daytona racing, if you like the series, if you haven't played this game yet, you definitely owe it to yourself to find it and check it out. You're definitely going to enjoy it. And Sega, if you're listening, I know you're not, just bring it to Steam already. It would be really easy. Short of that, we hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.